Hi, and welcome to episode 42 of the Noble Character Crafts podcast. My name is Amy, and I am coming to you from eastern Nebraska, where I live on a farm with my husband and our 5 children. Today is Friday, October 26th, 2018. Thank you so much for joining me today. A huge welcome to any new or returning viewers. Thanks for joining me, and I hope that you enjoyed this episode. This is a podcast all about my life as a knitter, a crocheter, a hand dyer of yarn, and a sewist. And I actually have all of those crafts to share with you today, it's been a while since I've shared something from each of those crafts. So I'm excited to share my projects with you all. You can find me online on Instagram and Etsy at Noble Character Crafts. You can find me on Ravelry at Noble Character. And I also have a group for this podcast on Ravelry under Noble Character Crafts Podcast. In that group, you will be able to find the show notes for this episode as well as previous episodes and several other chatter threads, so I would love it if you would join us over there. I am currently hosting a knit-along with the lovely ladies of the Meanwhile at the Castle podcast. It is called the Be My Neighbor Cal, and it is for any cardigan that you would like to knit or crochet in any size, in honor of Mr. Rogers, who often wore cardigans that his mother knitted for him. And then it's also including any gift or charity projects that you would like to make. I have a finished objects thread as well as a chatter thread in the Ravelry group, so I would love it if you would join us over there for any chatter about the projects that you are making. And then of course you can also enter any of the finished objects that you have finished. I am drawing a prize on the first podcast that I record of each month from the finished objects thread, so certainly enter your projects over there, and I believe then the next time I record a podcast I'll be drawing a prize because that will be the first one in November. So please do join the Ravelry group Finished Objects and Conversation for that knit along. I would love to have you join us. Also just wanted to remind any of you that signed up for the mini advent calendar swap that we are needing to send out our advent calendars to our partners no later than November 1st. So that's coming up next Thursday. And if you can please be sure to get your packages ready to go and in the mail no later than November 1st so that everybody can have their packages in time for December 1st. That would be wonderful. All right, I have 3 finished objects to share with you today, and all of them are colorwork projects. So I guess I'm on a colorwork kick, and I didn't even really think about it until I looked at my projects that I had to share with you today, my finished objects, and I realized that they're all color work. So that's kind of cool. I am excited to be doing color work. I'm really enjoying it. So the first one you may have noticed I am wearing. I was able to finish the Birdie Fair Isle cardigan that I was making. This is a beautiful pattern by Hannah Fettig. And this goes along with the Be My Neighbor Cal, since obviously it is a cardigan. And I am so thrilled with this. It's my favorite garment that I've made to date, and I'm just really happy with it. I thoroughly enjoyed making it, and I learned a lot along the way through the process of making it. And so I just want to talk you through what I did. I did make quite a few modifications to the pattern. The first one that I did was that I decided to make it in the round and then steek it, which the pattern calls for this to be made flat. So I did not want to do the color work in, back and forth, having to purl the color work. And so I decided to add some extra stitches to the center and then steek it, which I did while I filmed recorded the last episode. If you didn't get a chance to see that, you can certainly go back to episode 41 and watch as I cut open this cardigan. So anyway, that was the first modification that I had made. And then in the color work portion, I also made a modification. The original pattern calls for there to be a total of 8 birds. And then in the center of the back, it shows, or the design has a heart in the center of the back. I ended up making the color work section of this twice. I made it once and it didn't look very nice. And so I ripped it back and started all over again. And the second time that I made it, then I decided to add 2 extra birds to the color work. So I have a total of 10 birds around the yoke here. And then I just modified or did a little bit of calculation to figure out how to place the birds so that they would be evenly distributed, you know, and just I put them a little bit closer together than what the original pattern has. So then after the color work, I followed the pattern for a little while before I decided to add some bust darts. As you can see here, there's a little bit of shaping that I added just to give it a more fitted look. I also added just a few stitches of decreases right here at the waist as well, just to tuck it in a little bit more around the waist. And then I decided to add a band of color work around the waist as well. So that is something that is not in the original pattern. And I just took that from, as you can see, from about right here and down from this color work chart. So I just copied that. And I really like how that adds a little bit of, you know, extra color to the bottom of it. And then I also cropped this cardigan quite a bit. Let me stand up. So you can see I cropped it quite a bit. It's supposed to be, I don't really know. I think it said to knit it for 12 inches before you started the ribbing. And as you can see, it's not as long as that before I started the ribbing. I also made the ribbing a little bit longer than what the original pattern calls for, just because I liked how that looked. Then I also added some color work here to the wrists, which I just really like how that color work is a little bit, there's a little extra color work. I really like that. So I'm really happy with it. The gauge is 20 stitches to 4 inches. I used US size 5 3.75 millimeter needles for the ribbing. It's all 1x1 ribbing. For the main body, I used a US size 8, which is a 5 millimeter needle. And for the color work, I went up to a US size 10 6 millimeter needle. Except for the cuffs. I knitted the first cuff using this color work, you know, adding in this color work using a US size 10, and it was too tight. Obviously, there's just no stretch with color work. And so I ripped that back and went up to a US size 10.5, which is a 6.5 millimeter needle. And it's still a little tight, but I can get my hand in easily. It's just, you know, there's a lot of stretch here, but as you can see, it just doesn't stretch at all much at all with the color work section, but it's okay. It goes over my hand easily. So I did catch my floats, I thought pretty well, but with the cuff, my ring does get caught on the color work on the inside, but I just have to be a little bit careful as I'm slipping it on and off of my arm. I decided to use a tubular cast off or bind off on all of the edges, so on the cuffs here and at the bottom, and as I knitted on the button bands. And I did a tubular cast off using the sewn method shown by Very Pink Knits. I used her tubular bind off for 1x1 ribbing that she has a tutorial for, which was very, you know, an awesome tutorial. So that was really helpful and not too hard. Once I caught on to how the process is done, I was able to easily do that, and it's easy to memorize that process for doing that tubular bind off. So I really enjoy doing that, and I love the look of it. I had these silver buttons in my stash, and I really like how they look with it. They've got these little swirly bits on them, and I really like how they fit with the cardigan. I added a ribbon to cover up the steeked stitches. I just picked this ribbon up at Walmart. It is Offray brand, Offray, and it's just this polka dot. It is a 7/8 inch, the width is 7/8 inch, or 22 millimeters. So I thought that, you know, coordinated with the colors pretty well and added a fun little pop on the inside. And then it was, you know, I was able to cover up all the loose ends that the steeked edge had. So that cleaned it up quite a bit. Because it was a little bit, you know, when you have all those ends, they don't look too tidy. So I really like how that looks. And yeah, I'm just super happy with this. I posted on Instagram some more finished object pictures that my son took for me. My 10-year-old son is my photographer, so he's always so great and willing to help me out. He just snaps tons of pictures, which is fine. And then I just am able to pick a few from all of the pictures that he snaps because he just continuously takes pictures. It works well. I'm able to get some good pictures every time that he has helped me out. He's always done a great job. So anyway, yeah, I'm just super thrilled with this project. Oh, the yarn is the Knit Picks Wool of the Andes in the worsted weight. It is 100% Peruvian Highland wool. The main color is Mink Heather. The blue is Wonderland Heather. The dark charcoal is Onyx Heather. And the gold is Wheat. And yeah, I'm just super thrilled with it. It's very, very warm. Worsted weight, 100% wool. You know, it's nice and cozy. The yarn is a little bit scratchy. I'm not very sensitive to wool, so I'm comfortable wearing it. But I can see that somebody that would be sensitive to wool may have some irritation with this. But it doesn't seem to bother me. So I'm super happy with it. The next project, finished object that I have to share with you is this tiny little mitten. So this was a quick little project that I was able to make in just a few days. This is from the Mitten Advent Calendar, which is a free pattern it's a free pattern on Ravelry. If you go to the website that it links to, you can also buy it off of Ravelry in a PDF form if you'd like. But I didn't buy it. I just went to the designer's blog that has the free pattern. It is a pattern by Kathy Lewinsky, and it's called the Mitten Advent Calendar. And I made the first mitten in that collection. So here it is. Super cute, isn't it? The original pattern has a number 1 on this one. Each mitten has a day from 1 to 24, you know, so that it counts down to Christmas. But I just decided to leave off the number 1 and just repeat the little design in the middle there. So number 1 is supposed to go right here where that is. So it starts at the bottom, or at the cuff here, and it has a Latvian braid, which is the first time I've ever done a Latvian braid on anything, and that was really fun to be able to do. And the color work was, you know, not too difficult. It went well. I'm not a super experienced color work knitter yet, but I think my color work is getting pretty even, I guess. It was, you know, this is so tiny. It was quick to make. I used US size 1 2.25 needles for this project, and I got a gauge of 11 stitches to 1 inch. I used Knit Picks palette in the Garnet Heather colorway for the main color, and I used cream for the contrast. And let's see, so anyway, it's super, you know, you just put the unit up to the thumb, you put those thumb stitches on hold, and then I just up to the top, decrease Kitchener at the top, did the thumb. Then I did a little I-cord for this. I did make this a little bit longer than what the pattern calls for because I want to be able to use this as an ornament on a Christmas tree instead of an advent calendar. I just wanted to have it be like an ornament, so I decided to add a little bit of an extra length there so that it's easy to get onto the branch of a Christmas tree. So anyway, I'm super happy with that, and I am sure I'll be making a few more of these from the pattern just because they're so much fun and so adorable. So there's my second finished object. I highly recommend this pattern. It's so fun, and there's so many beautiful designs in the collection. So super fun, and you know, it'd be a great Christmas gift for anybody because they're so fast to work up. And anyway, yeah, super cute. I love it. Then the third finished object that I have to share with you is the Tweety Trees hat that I showed you on the last episode I recorded. And this is a free pattern on Ravelry. by Malia Pappas. And I really enjoyed making this pattern. I also used Knit Picks Wool of the Andes in worsted weight for this project as well. Again, you may be able to see it's quite matchy that I used the Mink Heather colorway for the main body, and then for the trees I used the Forest Heather colorway. I used US size 6 4mm needles for the ribbing, which is a 2x2 ribbing. Then for the color work, I went up to a US size 10 again, which is 6mm. And then for the main body, I used a US size 8 5mm. The original pattern has some crosses in the color work right here in between the tops of these trees, and I eliminated those just because I did not like the looks of them in there. But I really love the color work. I love the simplicity of it. I love how it turned out, except that I was making this as a gift for a friend of ours that helped us out quite a bit while I was ill. Last month I had an appendectomy, and anyway, I was in the emergency room a few times. I needed some help quite a few times. Anyway, this gentleman helped our family out in a few different ways. So I wanted to make him this hat as a thank you gift, but it turned out very large. So I'll try it on so you can get an idea. It's not horrible, but it's not what I wanted. So, I mean, it's kind of okay on my head. I don't have a huge head, but I have a lot of hair. So it kind of fills it out, but it's, as you can see, it's just kind of loose a little bit. I mean, it's pretty loose. My husband tried it on and it fits his head perfectly, and he has a huge head. He's a very big guy, and it fits him really well. So this is going to my husband. The man that this is supposed to be going to is not a big guy. He's very thin, and I just don't think that this is going to fit him in the way that I think that he would prefer to have a hat that is more fitted. So anyway, I will show you in a bit. I've started a new one for him, and I'm just going down one needle size for each of the sections. So hopefully it will turn out a little bit better. I mean, it's not horrible. I love the pattern. I love how it looks. I could definitely wear this, but I just don't think it's how, it just didn't turn out the size that I wanted it to. Which happens to me a lot with hats. I have had a lot of hats that I have made. Well, pretty much every hat that I have made, except for one, did not turn out exactly how I wanted it. So they're either too big or too small. So I thought I would share them with you because I just have such a hard time making hats that fit for some reason. So I thought I'd go through a few of them. Here are a few crocheted hats that I made. And these are both, I believe these were both test crochet patterns that I tested out the pattern for the different makers. And both of these turned out too small, but thankfully I have 5 children, so they fit the kids, but they're too small for my head. So pretty much, yeah, I've made all of these hats that I'm going to show you intended to be for me, but none of them fit me very well. So these two are too small, but they're cool. They look like color work. I mean, I guess they are color work, but they're both crocheted. Different techniques for both of them, but anyway, they're cute, but they're just not the right fit. Both of these crocheted samples, the body of where the color work is done is not stretchy at all. Again, I guess color work is not stretchy knitted either, but anyway, both of these, they're very tight. They make a very tight fabric. So anyway, I believe that this one is by Little Lotus Lane, and this one is by One Dog Woof. And then the first knitted hat that I ever made is this one, and it's a free pattern on Ravelry. I don't remember the name of it, but I'll put it down below. And this I wanted to be for me, but you can probably tell that that one is too little. And this fits my daughter. I suppose it fits my boys too, but they don't want to wear pink. But anyway, so this went to my daughter, which is fine. Again, the kids need lots of hats, but they have a hard time taking care of them very well. This one I found out in a pile of dirt, buried pretty much, and I had to clean it up. And it's 100% wool, non-superwash, so I had to wash it by hand, but it did clean up nicely. So that's good, but anyway. Then you've seen this one if you've watched for a while. This was my first brioche project, and I can fit it on my head, but it's not comfortable. So again, this is my daughter's. It's very pretty though. I'm really proud of it as my first colorwork project. But again, it turned out too little. This is the Flaming Beanie, I believe it's called. I'll put the designer down below. And if you've watched for a while, you've also seen this hat. This hat is mine, but it is also pretty big. And I don't wear it. I just never wear it. I don't know, I feel silly in it. I don't know why. Well, I do know why. I guess I like the looks of it, but I just never wear it. When I first made it, I said, I think it looks like I have a head of lettuce on my head. And that's what I still think. I just don't ever wear it. It's kind of cute, I guess. I don't know. But it's also pretty big. I mean, I'm making it look okay, but really it's too big. I mean, it's just like... This is a pattern by Nora Gone, and it's from the Knitted Cable Source Book. I have it right over there, but it's from this book, the Knitted Cable Source Book. So it's the cloche. So anyway, it's okay, but I really would like to make a hat that I love and that fits me how I like it, which I guess I like hats a little bit tighter than what I've shown you, but not too tight. Maybe I'm picky with my hats, I guess. Or maybe I just have a hard time making them to fit. So anyway, I'm hoping that this next work in progress that I have to show you will turn out how I want it. So those are my 3 finished objects, and now I will go on to works in progress. My first work in progress is in my Tuft Woolens project bag. It has these cute little feet, this little feet pin on it, which is the size of a 10-week-old unborn baby. The actual size of a 10-week-old unborn baby. So I got that from church a few weeks ago. And in here is my second try at the Tweety Trees hat by Malia Papas. And so I started, like I said, I've just gone down 1 needle size for each of the sections. So instead I started with a US 5, 3.75 millimeter for the ribbing. Again, it's 2x2 ribbing. Then for the color work, I'm using a US size 9 5.5 millimeter. And then for the main body, I will go to a US size 7, which is a 4.5 millimeter. So anyway, you can see I've just got a few rows of the color work. I've just started, the trunks of the trees are here. So I haven't gotten too far into the color work section yet, but it's going well. I use ChowGoo needles for all of my projects. I have an interchangeable set, and I use that for pretty much everything. I love them. And this is on a, I've got 4-inch needles and then an 8-inch cord. So I've got a total of 16 inches here, which works perfectly to make hats in the round. I love that. And again, I'm using Wool of the Andes, Knit Picks Wool of the Andes in the Mink Heather colorway and Forest Heather. So that is going well and should work up pretty quickly, I would think. So, yeah. Okay, I have put some work into my Scrappy blankets, and I don't think I've shown those in quite a while, so I am excited to share these with you. My first Scrappy blanket is called the Excavation, It is a free pattern on Ravelry, and it's by Jana Pehota. And I love how this is looking. It's so much fun. So every time I complete a project using fingering weight yarn, I add, if I have any extra of that yarn, I add it into this blanket. And this is super simple. You just start at one end, leaving a tail, which becomes this fringe. And you do a knit front and back at the first stitch of each row to increase. And then you just knit back and leave another tail at the other end. So you don't have any tails to weave in. And it's called excavation because it looks like, you know, layers of land if you're excavating land. It kind of gives the idea of layers. So I'm really loving this. I have a progress keeper to show you where I was last time I showed this on the podcast. So I've added quite a few inches there to this project. And again, this is all fingering weight. A lot of my own hand-dyed yarn, Noble Character Crafts yarn. Yeah, I guess you can see from where I was last time I did add several rows of extra yarn that I had from the 2018 collaboration Afghan. So if somebody had sent me some extra yarn with their square, then I added it in. And then I also have the colors that I put into my V-back tee. And lastly, well, I guess right here you can see the colors I put into the washed out shawl that I made recently. And there you can see the red and cream from the little mitten that I just made. I added that in as well. So anyway, I really love this. It's obviously a long-term project, but it's so fun to work on whenever I have whenever I finish a fingering weight project. I always just add it into this blanket right away as soon as I finish. So I love this, and I am using US size 2.75 millimeter needles for this, which was recommended. I don't think I've ever counted the gauge on this, but you know, with a blanket it doesn't really matter. So I love it. So fun, and it's fun to be able to look back. It's quite a memory blanket because I can look back and remember all the different projects that I've made ever since I started knitting. So every single project that I have made using fingering weight since I started knitting is in this blanket if I had anything left over. There's a few colors that were completely out when I finished the project, and so I didn't have enough to put into the blanket, but if I had extra, then I put it in a row. So love it. And then if I don't have enough to add to this blanket, then all my other little tiny itty bitty scraps go into my other Scrappy blanket, which is my Hexie Scrappy Afghan. And I love this so much. It's so fun and colorful. I love it. So a lot of the colors also that were, you know, everybody that sent me a square for the 2018 collaboration Afghan that I put together sent me at least a yard of yarn so that I could use that to stitch the different squares together. And if I had any little piece left over, then I was able to add it in. So a lot of these hexagons that I have added since I showed you this last are bits and pieces from the 2018 collaboration Afghan. And I actually worked on this over the Rhinebeck weekend, you know, while India Untangled was going on, and that's where the Afghan was on display. So that was kind of fun since, you know, even though I couldn't be there, it was fun that I could work on the different colorways that people had sent to me along with their squares while it was going on. So anyway, these all along the edge here are what I added recently. So let's see. From this one and all along the outside here. I love this one. That's so fun, isn't it? This is Yarn Cafe Creations, Asylum Fibers, and Kim Dye's yarn. I won't go through all the different makers that these yarn bits are from, but there's so many in there that are beautiful, and I love seeing the different color combinations together. So I think this is the first one I added over the weekend. And I went all along the edge here. I think I made 13. So anyway, right now it's a full hexagon of hexagons, which I like it when it's at this stage. I just like the looks of it. So I really love this. I am using my own pattern for this. I have pretty detailed notes on my Ravelry page for how I make the hexagons. I am joining them as I go, so I am able to crochet right over all of the loose ends, and I don't have to weave in any ends. So that's awesome. As you can see, there's just ends around the outside here, but I will stitch over them as I add in more hexagons. I am using a C hook, which is 2.75 millimeter. And yeah, it's so much fun. I have mentioned before, but you don't even need 1 gram of yarn to do one of the sections. So I use one color, as you can see, for the center, and I tried weighing that and it doesn't even register on my scale as 1 gram. So it's less than 1 gram for each of the different sections, I believe. So the tiniest little bit of yarn is enough. I should show you one of the ones, like this right here is probably going to be enough to do the center section. So it doesn't take much at all. It's fun to be able to use up every little last bit of yarn that I have in my stash. So I love this. This also, of course, is a very long-term project. I am so excited to imagine what this is going to be like once it's completed, but it's also so fun to continue to work on and add new colors and color combinations together. It's super fun. Love it. So those are all of my knitting and crocheting works in progress. I was able to do a bit of sewing yesterday, and I'm super excited to have this dress on that I made yesterday. It was super simple to make. I was able to start it at 2 o'clock in between 2 and 2:30, and by 4:30 it was completed. So it worked up so quickly. I have made this pattern before. This is a pattern that I just copied one of my dresses that I like the fit of. If you've watched for a while, the first dress that I made for myself, I used an old bed sheet that had cowboys and cows on it, which is kind of a silly pattern, but it was just an old bed sheet, so I wanted to try out the pattern. And this time I used a spandex rayon knit jersey fabric in a charcoal color that I got from fabric.com. And it was really inexpensive. It was only like $4 a yard or something like that. And I think I got 2 or 3 yards. It is super, super soft. I mean, it feels like I could wear it for pajamas. It's so soft and comfortable. And anyway, it was very easy to sew together. There's just a front piece, a back piece, a front and back to the skirt, and then these cap sleeves. So it sews up so quickly, and I can see myself making many more of these. So let me stand up again to show you a little bit better. As you can see, it's super simple. I like how it has this pretty high waist right here. It might be dirty. I have worn it all day and I made the kids lunch. It looks like there's something right here, but anyway. I love the way that this flows. This material is so fun and drapey. I really like how it drapes. So anyway, super simple neckline. I just did a rolled hem for all of the neckline and all the hems. And yeah, it's just very simple, very comfy, and I could wear a dress like this every day and be super comfortable, because even in the summertime it works well because it's nice and cool, and in the wintertime obviously you can just wear a cardigan over it or a sweater, or you could wear long sleeves underneath it if you really wanted to. I don't do that very often, but I like to have layers so that if I get hot running around the house, I can take off a sweater, or if I'm cold, obviously put one on. So anyway, I just love the style of this dress, and I can see myself making many more, especially because it's so simple to make. And I feel really comfortable in this style of dress. So anyway, I'm super excited that I was able to get back to sewing because it has been a while since I have sewn anything. So I was really glad to be able to get back to sewing, and I think that, you know, this nice charcoal color, I'm going to be able to wear this so much with so many different outfits. And yeah, since it's so comfy and cozy, I think it will get a ton of wear. So I'm super excited about that. It is chilly today, so I'm going to put my cardigan back on. Oh, I didn't really mention, but I can button the top. I haven't been buttoning the top ones because I just don't like the way that that looks as well. But I might wear it sometimes with just these top 4 buttoned, but I like having the bottom ones buttoned the best. When I have them all buttoned, I feel like it doesn't, I don't like how that looks so much. Anyway, it's very warm and cozy. Warms me up right away. All right. Okay, I did receive something new in the mail. Well, new to me. It's not new at all, which you can see that it's quite worn. But I was watching, I believe it was I'm pretty sure it was the Inside Number 23 Vlogtober series that Katie is putting out. And one day she was going through some of her books, I believe, and she just mentioned this book as being a great resource. So I went over to Amazon just to see if it was available, and it was only $8.15. So I was like, wow, that's awesome. And I have the Prime membership, so I didn't even have to pay for shipping. And so it's a super thick book, and this one, you know, is used, but it's in good condition still. So I haven't even really looked through it very much, but I can see that there is lots and lots of information about everything you could possibly need for sewing garments. So I kind of like getting a used book because whoever had it before me has put in some notes, and I just really like that, underline different things. So I really like, well, I mentioned before that I like old books, and yeah, I just really hope that, I'm sure that this is going to be a really useful book. It has a whole glossary of different terminology about different cloth that you can use, and yeah. This is the language of fabric, so it goes through all the different fabrics that you could use and talks about what they are from A to Z. Yeah, it goes through a lot of wonderful information. I just want to look at the copyright date because I am interested in that. This is a copyright date of 1973. So I'm really excited to have this in my library and be able to reference it as I continue to, hopefully, as I continue to sew more garments. So I'm excited to have that, and I'm so excited that it was so inexpensive. So, all right, the last thing I have to share with you is, well, what I normally do right now is share a set of 3 colorways from my Etsy shop that I think work well together for a shawl or something like that. But today I'm going to share one of my kits. So I do have a few kits in my Etsy shop where I sell my hand-dyed yarn, Noble Character Crafts yarn. And I have a kit called Bountiful, which usually comes with 5 full skeins of yarn in these colors. So as you can see, this kit has 4 mini skeins and 1 full skein. But you can see the different shades of this faded kit go from the light tan all the way to a deeper brown, and they are all speckled with brown, this deep teal, and this rusty orange. You can see it best on the lightest color, of course, but even the darkest color has speckles of those colors on it as well. And this kit is for a design that Jennifer of Bromefields designed, and she is offering on her website a giveaway for a kit, including her pattern. And I am offering a giveaway on my Instagram feed for a kit as well. So 2 different kits will be available to be won, either through her website or through my Instagram feed. So I thought I would just share this set with you all. That is my yarn to share with you this week. So since I recorded a podcast last, my husband has started harvesting, thankfully. He was able to finish up all of the soybeans and is ready to start picking corn next. And everything is going really well for our harvest season, so that's great. I'm so thankful for that. We haven't had any major mechanical issues yet, or nothing that wasn't easy to fix, so that's wonderful. The weather has been crazy. On the 14th of October, we got snow, which is the earliest I ever remember getting snow. I remember one time when I was little on Halloween, as I was trick-or-treating, it snowed, but I never remember having snow that early in October, and it was a lot. I mean, it was coming down really heavy, and it didn't melt as soon as it hit the ground. It actually collected. We got about, I would guess, about an inch of snow collected. It didn't last long, by the next day it was already all gone, but it was just so crazy. And I usually love snow, but that just made me sick to see our crops covered in snow. Nothing had been picked at that time, and it can really damage crops to have snow, especially the beans can get damaged by having snow on them because it can knock them down. So thankfully, everything survived very well, so that was wonderful. But anyway, it was just crazy to get snow. And then a few days later, we were up into like 70-degree weather again, so it's just crazy. Anyway, the weather here lately has been absolutely beautiful. We've had a good week of dry weather that's been, pretty warm, not too cold, and so it's been great for harvesting. We have gotten some rain yesterday, and a little bit today. It's kind of gloomy and misty, but it's supposed to dry out again, so hopefully my husband is hoping to start picking corn tomorrow. So anyway, our kids are getting ready for Halloween, so they're getting pretty excited about that. We're going to have, our oldest is 10, and he's going to be Iron Man. And then we have an 8-year-old boy who is going to be Spider-Man. Our girl is 7, and she's going to dress up as the Tooth Fairy. I haven't finished her costume yet. My mom just sent me some fairy wings because I couldn't find fairy wings anywhere. And then I need to make her a crown. I'm going to try to put some teeth on it somehow. Hopefully that will be cute and not weird. Or maybe just one tooth with like glitter on it or something. I don't know. And then I also want to make her a wand with maybe a tooth on the end of it. I don't know. We'll see how that turns out. But she's got a fairy-like dress that she's going to wear with it, and then her wings. So that's kind of cute. And then our 6-year-old boy is going to be a T-Rex because he is obsessed with dinosaurs. And our youngest 5-year-old boy is dressing up as Curious George, which has been his favorite cartoon to watch since he was very little, and it still is. So anyway, that will be super fun. We go to a local church in town that has a kid festival on Halloween, so they have games and candy and stuff, and then we'll go to a few houses for trick-or-treating. We don't do a ton of trick-or-treating, but we'll do a little bit just for fun. So we are looking forward to that. That's on Wednesday. So other than that, we are just doing well, continuing with our schoolwork, of course. I homeschool our kids, and everything's going pretty well. I'm continuing to feel wonderful, so I'm very grateful for that. And anyway, everything seems to be going well. I hope everything has been going well for you all, and I hope that you have a wonderful week ahead. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. If you did enjoy this podcast, I would really appreciate you giving me a thumbs up and subscribing to this channel if you would like. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Bye-bye.